to be aware for me gets me in a place that I recognize that everything's a choice.
You can't be aware unless you're curious, right? Because if I'm not curious as to why I do something, why I did something, why I feel something, then I'm not going to be aware of what is behind it. You got to stay in curiosity with others to be more aware of what's going on with them and not make assumptions.
Welcome to another session of Inside Outlooks, where we know that personal growth is an inside job. How we think, what we think, and why we think it are what determines our level of success and happiness. It's time to take a look inside to change the world around us.
Okay, so we were in Pittsburgh and we nailed down and we went further and we actually picked every chapter of the book that we're
Yay!
yeah. And we started a quick phone call recording using this idea to discuss the first chapter, which was awareness.
Which I think is kind of similar to the word consciousness, right? Being conscious of something is being aware. I think most people have a working definition of what it would mean to be aware of something. Curious how the two of you would define awareness. What do you mean when you say, I want to be more aware? What does it mean?
For me, I'll tell you the first thing that comes to mind is that I don't want to live by default, right? I want to be able to make decisions instead of always going where I've always gone. I want to know there's another possibility, right? I want to be aware that it doesn't always have to be a certain way, that I don't always have to think a certain way, do certain things, whatever. And it doesn't mean I can't keep doing them, but it's making that as a choice rather than just the default.
Yeah, choice is a good word. Consciousness and unconscious. So what comes to mind for me when I'm listening to Matt, because my fear was, oh, we're going to have the same exact kind of definition of it, and we don't. To a certain extent, like the choice makes sense to me. To be aware for me gets me in a place that I recognize that everything's a choice. Being aware is a choice. So I want to be in that space, that gap between awareness and choice, to remember that even the most mundane things in my life or what's going on is a choice. Choice to pay attention, choice not to pay attention. So awareness is a choice to pay attention. It doesn't necessarily mean knowledge, right? It doesn't have to, right? You can gain knowledge through more awareness, but it's a choice to pay attention.
That's great. Okay, so awareness to us is about making choices, pay attention to what's going on around us and inside of us, and knowing that we have more options than maybe we do at first glance.
Yeah, which feeds into the curiosity part of things, right? You can't be aware unless you're curious, right? Because if I'm not curious as to why I do something, why I did something, why I feel something, then I'm not going to be aware of what is behind it, right? So you got to stay in curiosity with others to be more aware of what's going on with them and not make assumptions, but even more so, more important, with our own selves, right? For me, that means reflection. That means taking time to go, okay, so yesterday or 5 minutes ago or whenever this happened, why did that happen? Why did I make that choice? Why did I say, or is what I said, was it thoughtful or was it thoughtless, right? Was it intentional or was it unintentional?
So asking some of those questions, Matt, about things that we do, I think can sometimes be a little painful, right? Like sometimes you ask those questions and it's not fun, or you might know the answer, but you don't want to ask the question because you don't like the answer. I think we kind of live in a world where curiosity and awareness is not always championed. Like curiosity kills the cat, ignorance is bliss. Yeah. Like we're in this world of information overload, and sometimes at the end of the day, I'm like, I don't want to look at my phone, I don't want to look at the TV, I don't want to think about anything. I want to like bury my head in the sand, right? So how or why would someone make the choice to dive into this potentially more painful state of being?
I don't. So to kind of challenge that a little bit, curiosity doesn't necessarily equate information overload. So if we just play with the curiosity killed the cat, what comes to mind when you say that is like, be careful what you wish for. And I say that a lot in coaching, and I say it in a joking manner and then change it to be skillful in what you are looking for, right? Because you're looking for, your mind is consciously and unconsciously looking for something. The more aware we are, the more we have a choice of what it's going to grab, because there's an abundance of good and there's an abundance of bad. We can choose which one we want to focus on. So that curiosity kills the cat just kind of makes me feel like it doesn't have to be information overload. It can be specific questions. And the only way you can get to that is to be vulnerable. And it's not always easy to be vulnerable. That's a strength that you have to go to the gym every day to work out, right? Stretch and get scarred and it hurts.
I think, Daryn, what you brought up, I think the thing is that it takes work to build awareness.
Yeah.
Right? It takes inner work, self work. And that's the part that people, I don't know, sometimes I think it's more than the fear of what they're going to find and or less about that and more about the fact that, oh, that sounds hard, right? Or, right?
Hard.
Now, that's the surface. I think behind that's hard is well, I'm scared of what I'm going to uncover, right? And it's, I equate what happens at that point. In some people, that's where substance abuse starts, right?
Sure.
Because it numbs and I don't have to think about it. For some people, that's where working out every day for 3 hours a day starts. For some people, that's where overeating starts, or like whatever. It doesn't have to be a substance, right? It can be what is the distraction so that I don't have time to worry about that, or I don't have time to think on a deeper level, right?
Well,
and so the work is, I don't have time to slow down and just reflect on what I'm doing and where I've been and blah blah blah. That's hard. I don't have time for that. I don't know. I think that can be a really deep subject of many layers on that kind of stuff, because I think, Dave and I tend to work with the people that know that there's work involved in that, but are willing to do the work, which is why they're top achievers to begin with.
Yeah, it's the people that have chosen to make that a commitment, and they might not know how to do it, right? But they chose to do the hard work, right? If we use those two words. The distraction thing is interesting too, because everything that we manifest into our life is a distraction. Everything except for one thing, mindfulness, right? So if we slow down, that is the one non-distraction in our life. Why doesn't everyone meditate? They say they can't slow their mind down. Well, you're really not slowing your mind down. You're actually being more mindful. So everything is a distraction.
Of what's coming into your mind.
Yeah, right. Yeah. And even the distraction of substance abuse or social engagement, whether that's online or out there in the world, that's a distraction to whatever's going on. You could say that it's enjoyment and recreation, but it's truly a distraction of being mindful. Interesting thing would be is to bring mindfulness into those activities. I kind of think, and this may be a rationalization as to why I drink, but I kind of think the way you and I drink, Matt, is more of a mindful approach to that activity.
Sure.
Right? There's an enjoyment and a distraction to what we're doing, but there's a mindfulness to the taste and the kind and where it's from and how you make this, or even your portable bar. About your grandfather, right? Father.
That one's my father, but I have my grandfathers before.
That's right.
Yeah.
So that to me is a distraction that you and I have that creates a choice to be mindful about that, right?
Yeah, for me, it's part tradition, part mindful, part, the craft and all the things that go into the different bourbons and, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah. It's when we get into hyper focused of what that is that we then go from distraction to escape.
Yeah, I mean, a simple escape in that world could be that somebody that's not great in a social situation decides to have 2 drinks before they get to the social situation, right? And then they get to the point where they realize that they need that because they're so much more engaging and loose and authentic in their mind, because it takes away their inhibitions, that it becomes something that keeps them from the awareness or from the mindfulness of what's actually going on in there.
Yeah. So a possible scenario would be, with more awareness and choice, that person use that fake it to make it strategy to really understand when they're finally there, it's still really them. Right. They use that alcohol as a getting to the front of the line of loosening up, but you could be that way without that. Right.
Yeah, but it would take work, right? And
Take work.
pushing through fear. And
Yeah.
I want to throw in a disclaimer because none of us are experts on substance abuse or alcoholism. It's a disease. It's a serious disease. So I don't want to make light of it or anything else, or that it just starts out of that, right? Some people are prone to it, some aren't. But anyway, but I think that's, I mean, there's scientific evidence out there that every time we have a thought, whether it be positive or negative, that it causes a chemical reaction in our brain.
That's
And
the
when we
point.
have that chemical reaction, we want more of it. And so that's why the people we see in the world that are always negative, always bitter, well, the more they do it, the more they want it. And so without the work, there's going to be no awareness. Without the curiosity of why am I always miserable, right? There's no awareness at all. And so I think, curiosity by far is probably the most important thing when it comes to awareness, because if we're not curious about why things are happening, then we don't ever learn why or how to get around it or how to change it.
Did you tell me to read this book?
I did.
You did?
I did.
I think both of us.
So
yeah, probably, yes.
it's fucking brilliant. Yep. Mine's yellow though. I think it's better. What are you gonna do? I know.
Can't judge a book by its cover, Dave.
You
should know
can't.
that by now.
You can't. That's why I stuck my
I've
nose in
learned
it
that.
today. And what stood out to me today, very early in the book, and it referenced it, and I sent it to a bunch of people at my company this morning because of the few things that I've heard from them over the last couple days. The quote was, what we spend our time and mental energy focusing on can indeed become our reality. And he is speaking from the world of psychology up to 1998, being negative, looking at the negative side of it, and then changing from 1998 forward, being more positive. But I sent that to them this morning because a couple people, one person is hyper focused on what's going on with government and the shootings, and went he opened up and he went to bed and had a horrible night sleeping, and confided me in the morning, like, he was a little bit depressed, right? So I sent that to him this morning because he's hyper focused on that. So going back to what you said about curiosity killed the cat. In that case, he's over informed, right? In my opinion, over informed. He's consuming only that.
But the curiosity's got to be about why he's feeling the way he's feeling,
Yes.
not
Yes.
about curiosity about what's going on more. Let me dig deeper. That's a different curiosity.
Yes.
I'm awareness,
Agreed.
curiosity, self-awareness. So let's go back to self-awareness, right? Not just awareness in general.
Which is why I threw the quote back to him, and then a bunch of other people in the office that I saw a common thread in, and it had nothing to do with current events. It had to do with their mantra in their department is, we're so busy, we're overloaded. We're so busy, we're overloaded. We can't get any work done. We're so busy, right? No matter what positive event that happens in that department, somebody new hired, a client leaving, somebody new hired equals less work for the team, right? A client leaving means less work for the team. An efficiency to it means less work for the team. Delegating something means less work for the team, right? Using those broad statements of work. That department is not willing to do the hard and good work to understand what it takes to delegate correctly to an outside resource or a new team member. Doesn't understand that the account and all their time consumed on something might not be the best use of their time, right? So I sent that to them also, and well, quite frankly, I think they missed it, but they missed the point. But that's my struggle with that department. Hopefully, by the time this airs, that the department is solved. If not, I'm not speaking out of turn because I'd say this to your face. So the curiosity thing is definitely important. What you just said, right? So they're not being curious as to what makes them feel so busy. It ain't the fucking work. It's your attitude towards the work.
Yep.
Right?
Yep. Exactly.
That's my.
I mean, I always go back to the simplest analogy with this stuff is a football team before the game. He said thank you for the book. The football team before the game, right? If they're in the locker room and they're all going, man, did you see that other team? Those guys are huge. They're going to crush us. How does that affect their performance? Because that's all they're thinking about is how they're going to lose, right? And they're no longer even playing not to lose. They just are playing to lose because they already know they're going to get crushed, right? And when we walk out the door or we walk into a meeting going, this meeting's going to suck or I'm going to have this horribly busy day. Well, guess what? You're right. You are.
Yeah, you're right.
Because if you walk out the door looking for all the red Honda Accords in the world, that's what you're going to see that day is the red. You're not going to see the blue ones and the green ones or any other car. You're going to see the red Honda Accords, right? And it's the same thing. Whatever you look for, you're going to find. And so you're going to be in this sea of crap because that's what you're focused on. And it's just having, it's why to me that affirmations make such a difference, right? Because yeah, what I know you don't like affirmation. No, I know you do. I'm just kidding. But no, seriously, I mean, it's, if I say 5 times, like the real estate world, right? They're home, they're happy, they're going to list with me. They're home, they're happy, they want to list with me. Whatever, you go through that 5 times walking up to somebody's door rather than, I hope this goes okay. Oh, I'm not sure I'm prepared for this. Like, it's just that simple shift of saying something positive 5 times. And there's a lot about that and the happiness advantage.
Yeah. And the idea is that it's not just one tool, or it's a tool. It's not just the single one that gets you there. If you are, to Daryn's point about curiosity, if you're more curious as to, well, am I really good? Am I a great listing agent? Am I a good coach? I say that I'm a good coach. So what makes me a good coach? And then you keep going and say, what makes a good coach? Not just me.
Well,
Right?
to use Benjamin Zander, who I think you recommended that book to me, something about possibility. I can't think of the title right now. Anyway, but if you add one word to every one of those questions at the beginning is how. How am I a good coach? How was that a good coaching call? How am I a good leader? That's when you get more aware, because am I is a 50-50 shot. You're either 51% and I'm like, yes, I am, but is that really good or is that mediocre? Yes, I am. Or 49.
How is much more mindful and curious and vulnerable, right?
It creates awareness when you think about it. That word helps you create awareness about any particular, whatever you're asking the question about, right?
Yeah.
There's another word I love probably before you get to maybe that positive mindset of like, how am I good at this? If you're stuck in a negative mindset of like, I have not mastered public speaking, is adding the word yet at the end of it. That's a really fun and easy one. And I think for a lot of people, hopefully listening to us or engaging in this are probably at that yet stage, right? You're thinking, I'm not a great leader yet.
Well, and you know what, though?
That provides possibility.
And it also says something about you and those people as individuals and leaders, that there's humility there, because the person that says, I have mastered public speaking, I'm sorry, really? There's no one in the world that's done it better than you? Like, you haven't, whatever. I mean, you can say I've mastered it because I can walk on stage, do it, I'm not nervous, whatever else, but okay, great. But what about them? Do they think that too, or is that just you, right? So I think that's part of being a top achiever, is that, no, have I mastered anything yet? No, I'm a work in progress, and I just continue to work on it, right?
Yeah. So that brings to mind, like, at some point in the past, my 18 years coaching, I had said, I've mastered this coaching thing. Right. And at that point is like the next day is my failure somewhere. And it was true. I did master this coaching thing. I mastered what I thought it was at that point. Sure. So to what you're saying is more about, like, it's not an absolute, right? Whether it's coaching or entrepreneurism or being a parent, you master what you currently believe is true about being a dad, right? So I became a new dad on Friday. My daughter graduated college. I was the other dad the day before with a kid in college. Now I'm a dad with the kid that's just an adult. That's it, just an adult, right? I can't label her as a student. So I've mastered the other one, and now all of a sudden I'm like, oh shit, I don't have to pay that bill anymore, which is fun to say. Then what other things come to mind now? I have to master being I say different. Different's not the right word, but I have to master being this new father, right? 22-year-old woman out of college moving on to her life. I've got to master being this new father. It wasn't the father I was supposed to, I was mastering the day before.
Yeah, and Happiness Advantage actually talks about that, about the human nature of a moving goalpost, right?
Yeah.
And we
Yes.
all get this, like you have this idea of I'll be happy when I get to this achievement, but there's going to be another achievement, right? You have this one and then you have the next one, and that's okay, and that's a good thing, because if we all were like, I learned how to walk and that was it, I didn't. That was, you know what I mean? Like we'd all be waddling around like babies. So it's a great and natural thing, but we can't tie our happiness to hitting any achievement, any form of mastery, because there will always be another level. There's always going to be a new dad to be, a new goal to reach.
Yeah.
That also reminds me a little, and I'm not sure it's 100% the message of the book, but Infinite Game, Simon Sinek, right? Is that, there's no, why do we always say, okay, to be the best, in real estate, I got to sell one more dollar than the next guy or girl, right? In the business, when in reality, being the best, there's no ceiling above that, right? So being the best doesn't have to be here. Being the best is against yourself, right? It's why Tiger Woods, when he was the number one golfer in the world, totally redid his swing, got a new coach. Why? So that he could beat people? No, because he knew he could be better than he was. Right? It's that infinite, there is no ceiling kind of thing. And for, in the sense of you with your daughter, that's a progression that's going to go through life. But in the sense of like being an achiever, being successful in life and relationships and everything else, it's just knowing that I can always be better. And that's where I was kind of going with, mastering public speaking, mastering whatever. Okay, you can do it well, but I mastered driving. But could I beat Mario Andretti on the
Yeah.
track?
Right.
No.
Right.
Right? So I know I could get better, right? And I know there are different
Driving.
goals in those two kinds of driving, but
But that's the point. Driving encapsulates all of it.
right.
There's race driving, there's street driving, there's off-road driving, there's recreation, there's all kinds of shit. So it's like you said about being a parent. You're a father at different levels, in my case, right? And I don't know if anyone ever plans for that. You plan on being a dad or a father or a mother, right? You plan on being a race car driver or getting your license. But beyond that, it goes, getting back to awareness and curiosity, it goes back to, are you willing to be vulnerable and get curious as to what it would take to be Mario Andretti, right? What is that? Is that interesting to you to keep thinking about that? I've mastered this driving thing. I want to be a race car driver. What does that mean?
Well, and like I said, there's different, driving encompasses it all, right? And speaking encompasses it all. Because,
Yeah.
okay, Mario Andretti, one of the top drivers of all time, whatever. But if a squirrel runs out in the middle of the road on a racetrack that he's not expecting, will he be able to maneuver around it, right? Like an obstacle not expected in that particular situation. Same thing with the public speaker who says, I've mastered it. And all of a sudden you get a guy in the third row who goes, you're a fucking idiot.
Right.
Like, do you just keep going? Like, and I'll tell you, here's some mastery of performing to me is Chris Rock. Right?
Oh, just recently, yeah.
When Will Smith went up and punched him, he did not go there. He didn't get into it. He kept his composure. Like a lot of people couldn't have done that. Right. And so there's always, we don't know what's coming. That's what I mean is in life, you can say you've mastered something and then something comes along you weren't thinking about. Because guess what? You haven't mastered everything about everything.
Well, it's a mastery of himself, right? So we don't know Chris Rock, but what I witnessed was a mastery of himself from maybe what we do on a mindset coach level, or even what Daryn does on a leadership level, he was able to stand firm in the hurricane of whatever was going on. Maybe not even just the slap, just the aftermath of that and being on stage, right? So
He found
Daryn,
peace in the chaos.
yeah,
Right.
and Daryn's got to deal with that and show agents how to have peace with the chaos. And the chaos is, well, you didn't get that listing, right? For us, it's clients who have good and bad days, helping them create room to be curious about themselves and find some grace, because it's not going to be all fucking unicorns and rainbows.
Yeah, it's navigation, right? It's we're not here to remove obstacles in people's lives. We're here to shine a light so they can see them and work around them.
Yeah.
And move through them.
And that's okay. To wrap it up, we know that to be more aware, we talked the benefits of awareness, having a choice in our life, right? Understanding what we're using as a distraction versus what's actually serving us. It starts with curiosity. Okay, I'm ready to get curious. What do I do? Give me one line, one next step. I'm ready to get more curious.
Start journaling.
Journaling is a great awareness tool. Yeah.
It doesn't have to be a lot. It could be just a paragraph in the morning about what happened yesterday, or a paragraph at night about how your day went. But just reflection, a little reflection.
Yeah, I would go reflection from the standpoint of meditating, whatever meditating is for that person. For me, it's getting quiet for 25, 45 minutes.
We all love that.
When I'm quiet, oh my God, right? I think those are two great tools to get more curious, right? You're able to get curious when you enter those two little venues, venue of writing and a venue of being quiet, because shit comes up.
It sure does. It always does. Okay, so journaling and meditating, those are two more topics we'll definitely add to our list. And
I want to add one thing, because I just think this is always important with journaling. Journaling is not about, oh, this crap happened and that happened and that. It's not always, you can do it to get it out, but it's more about, okay, why did I react that way? How did I react? Like, what can I do tomorrow that's going to be better? Or how could have it been a better situation?
Yeah.
Right? It's not always about a laundry list of all the crap that's going on.
Yeah. Yep. Love it.
Awesome.
Sweet.
So,
thank you.
You're welcome.
A needle pulling thread.
What the
I
fuck
know you
does
don't
that
like
mean?
musicals, Dave, but
I wanted you to sing it, but we'll take it.
I'm a little teacup. What? I don't understand. I'm lost now.
So a needle pulling thread, far a long, long way to go. Tea, a drink with jam and bread. That'll bring us back to do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do.
Got it. Is that Shakespeare?
Yes, it is Shakespeare.
Didn't he write a musical or something?
One thing from Shakespeare, Dave: brevity is the soul of wit.
And on that note, goodbye.
Goodbye.
See you guys. See you
Peace out, people.
Thanks for listening, and remember, your outside world is an inside job. See you next time. Hey, can we get some more over here?